every night, just as the world quiets down. That's when the noise in our heads can get overwhelmingly loud. We've all been there, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, trapped in a loop of endless thoughts about what we did wrong today and what tomorrow might bring. It's exhausting, isn't it? But let me tell you something. You are not alone in this mental marathon. Overthinking is like having an itch you can't scratch, and it can steal away both your night's sleep and your daytime peace. But what if I told you there's a way to quiet those noisy thoughts? Yes, there is. Today we dive deep into the wisdom of Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that's as practical today as it was thousands of years ago. This isn't just about historical concepts. This is about real tools that can help us lead a calmer, more focused life. If you're tired of your mind spinning out of control, stick with me. Let's explore how these age-old strategies can bring us peace and clarity in our chaotic world. And hey, if you appreciate what we're doing here, do me a simple favor and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to skip any part of this. Every moment is packed with value to help you quiet the noise in your mind. Now let's talk about something we've all experienced. You know those moments when you're just sitting there, your mind racing with a million what-ifs and maybes. And before you know it, hours have slipped by and you've gotten absolutely nowhere. That's the trap of overthinking. Stoicism teaches us a powerful antidote to this paralysis: action over analysis. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said, "The secret of all victory lies in the organization of the non-obvious." He wasn't just about thinking things through. He was about doing things that make a real impact. Here's the truth. Action inherently moves us forward, while overthinking often spirals us into stagnation. Have you ever noticed that when you finally decide to take even a small step forward, it feels like a weight lifts off your shoulders? That's because action is liberating. It breaks the chains of procrastination and doubt. Let me share something personal. I once had this idea for a project. I spent weeks just thinking about it, planning every detail in my head. But guess what? It never went anywhere because I was too caught up in trying to make it perfect. I was stuck in analysis paralysis. The moment I started to take action, even small actions like jotting down notes or discussing the idea with a friend, things started to shift. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. The Stoics believed we control our actions, but not always the outcome. By focusing on what we can do right now, we reduce the overwhelm of trying to control every possible future scenario, which, let's be honest, is impossible. Each action you take teaches you something new. It brings insights, challenges, and most importantly, moments. Action feeds confidence. Each time you act, you prove to yourself that you can move beyond your fears. Momentum builds, and suddenly, what once seemed impossible starts to look doable. Remember, living according to nature means learning and growing from what we do, not just what we think. So what small action can you take today? It doesn't have to be giant. Tiny steps are still steps. Don't let your thoughts hold you back. As Seneca said, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, it is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Let's talk about another powerful lesson. You're not that special. Guess what? That's a good thing. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself in his meditations to keep his ego in check. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Why is realizing you're not that special actually liberating? Because it's about So the next time you find yourself overthinking how others perceive your actions, remind yourself you are free to live your life authentically, without undue concern over every little judgment. Now let's tackle something that traps so many of us. Comparison is the thief of joy. When we constantly compare ourselves to others, their successes, their looks, their achievements, we set ourselves up for unhappiness. It's like chasing a moving target that you can never quite reach. The Stoics taught us to focus on what is within our control. And let me tell you, other people's lives? Definitely not within our control. Epictetus said, "Focus on what you can control and let go of what you cannot." Think about this. You're having a good day, feeling proud of what you've accomplished. Then you scroll through social media, and suddenly someone else's highlight reel makes your victories feel insignificant. That's the trap of comparison. Instead, anchor your self-worth in your own values and progress. This is about internal validation, not external. When you shift from competition to personal growth, it's liberating. You begin to see your life as a unique journey, not a race against someone else's milestones. Now here's a big one. Perfection is a myth. The pursuit of perfection is a relentless drive that often leads to dissatisfaction and paralysis. When we set unattainable standards, every small mistake can feel like a failure. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Our obsession with an imagined state of perfection causes more distress than the actual imperfections of life. By embracing imperfection, we free ourselves from impossible expectations. This doesn't mean we stop trying to improve. It means we recognize that improvement is a process. Each mistake is a lesson. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Obstacles and imperfections are not just hurdles, they are opportunities to grow. So instead of aiming for perfection, aim for progress. Celebrate the small victories, embrace the imperfections. Let go of the myth of perfection, and you'll find a whole new world of possibilities. Finally, let's talk about our emotions. Your emotions are not your reality. It's easy to get swept away by feelings, but remember, emotions don't always represent the truth of our situations. Marcus Aurelius advised us to take a step back and examine our impressions, asking ourselves if they are based on fact or if we're letting emotions cloud our judgment. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Emotions are transient. They come and go, and they can deceive us into overestimating the significance of what we're feeling in the moment. By understanding this, we can make clearer, more rational decisions. Remember, you have the power to choose your actions, regardless of how you feel. That is your strength. That is your freedom. Now take these lessons and apply them to your life. Quiet the noise in your mind. Take action. Embrace imperfection. Focus on your own journey. And most importantly, live with clarity, courage, and purpose. This isn't about suppressing your emotions. Rather, it's about not letting them control you. It's about achieving a level of detachment where you can acknowledge your feelings without letting them cloud your judgment. This is what the Stoics mean when they talk about living a life of virtue. It's about responding to life's challenges with reason, rather than being led by emotion. Let's say you're feeling really down because you didn't get a job you interviewed for. The initial emotional response might be to think you're not good enough, or that you'll never find a job you love. But if you take a moment to step back and apply reason, you might see that this rejection could be an opportunity. It could lead you to explore other options or improve your interviewing skills. By not letting your initial emotions dictate your reality, you open yourself up to more constructive and proactive paths. Practicing this can start simply. The next time you find yourself getting emotionally charged, take a breath. Ask yourself, is my reaction based on reality or just my interpretation of the situation? Is there another way to view this? Often just taking this moment can prevent you from spiraling into negative overthinking. It helps you approach situations with more clarity and rationality. Epictetus taught us that it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our view of them. By changing our perspective and questioning the validity of our emotional responses, we can change how we experience life's ups and downs. This doesn't mean ignoring your feelings, it means managing them in a way that allows you to respond with wisdom and clarity. Detach from outcomes. Stoicism teaches us that much of our distress comes from clinging too tightly to outcomes we can't control. Remember, the Stoics are all about distinguishing between what's in our control and what's outside it. While we can influence outcomes, we can't control them entirely. Epictetus famously said, "Some things are in our control and others not." This simple truth is at the heart of Stoic calm and resilience. Think about when you're working on a project or striving toward a personal goal. If you're solely focused on the outcome, every minor setback can feel like a major disaster. This fixation leads to constant stress and disappointment because, frankly, outcomes are often influenced by variables we can't predict or manage. But what if you shifted your focus from the outcome to the effort itself? Imagine the freedom and satisfaction in knowing that your self-worth isn't tied to the results of your actions, but to the quality and intention behind them. This is what it means to detach from outcomes. It's not about not caring about results. It's about not being defined by them. Let's apply this to something relatable, like starting a new diet or fitness routine. If you fixate solely on losing a specific amount of weight within a certain time frame, you're setting yourself up for frustration and potential failure. Instead, if you focus on developing healthier eating habits or enjoying your workouts, you shift the focus to the process. You start to appreciate the daily improvements in your energy and mood. These are direct results of your actions, things you can control. The weight loss then becomes a beneficial side effect, not the sole measure of your success. This Stoic approach helps build resilience. When outcomes aren't the end-all be-all, setbacks become less terrifying. They're just part of the journey, opportunities to learn and adjust. This mindset fosters a more sustainable motivation because it's rooted in what you're doing right now, not in a distant, possibly elusive goal. Moreover, detaching from outcomes allows you to be more present and engaged in the task at hand. It enhances your performance because you're focused on the action, not distracted by anxiety over the results. Ironically, this can lead to better outcomes because you're operating from a place of engagement and authenticity, not fear and attachment. So as we go forward, let's try to put this into practice. Focus on your actions, on living according to your values, and doing your best in each moment. Trust that by doing this, the outcomes will take care of themselves one way or another. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius said, just do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. It's a freeing way to live, and it drastically cuts down on overthinking and unnecessary stress. The present moment is all you have. It's easy to get caught up in regrets about the past or worries about the future. But Stoicism teaches us that the only real time we have control over is the present. Marcus Aurelius, a staunch advocate of this idea, wrote, "Confine yourself to the present. What he's telling us is simple yet deeply significant. The past is untouchable and the future is uncertain. But the present is where we live our lives. Think about how often your thoughts wander to what's been or what's coming. It could be dwelling on an argument you had last week or fretting over an upcoming deadline. These thoughts aren't just distracting, they're draining. They pull you out of the here and now, reducing your ability to focus on what you're actually doing and diminishing your effectiveness and happiness. Embracing the present moment means actively focusing on what's happening. This doesn't mean you ignore the lessons of the past or fail to plan for the future. Rather, it means you don't let those considerations overpower your current experience. It's about balancing awareness and not letting one aspect overwhelmingly distract from another. Let's say you're spending time with a friend, but you're mentally rehearsing a work presentation for tomorrow. By not being fully present, you miss out on the richness of the interaction. And ironically, Notice the sights, the sounds, the smells. Feel the air on your skin and the ground beneath your feet. This isn't just about grounding yourself physically, it's about reminding yourself that life happens in the now. The Stoic practice of mindfulness and presence also encourages gratitude. When you're fully present, you're more likely to notice the small joys and victories you might otherwise overlook. This leads to a deeper appreciation for your life as it is, not as you think it should be or fear it might become. So as we move forward, let's try to bring our attention back to the present whenever we find it straying. Remember, every moment spent worrying about the past or the future is a moment lost. The present is your reality, the stage on which you can act. Marcus Aurelius urged us to live with vigor and purpose in the present, not passively but as active participants, shaping our lives moment by moment. By embracing the present, we embrace life itself. We can handle stress better, enjoy our experiences more fully, and live with a sense of peace that comes from knowing we're truly living, not just existing. This is a powerful Stoic lesson that not only reduces overthinking but enriches our entire existence. Let's make the most of now, for it's all we truly have. And that wraps up our exploration of how Stoic wisdom can transform the way we think and live. Remember, each moment you choose to be present and intentional is a step toward a more fulfilling life. Thank you for joining me here at Stoic Journal. If you found value in what we discussed today, please check out one of the suggested videos on the screen to continue your journey into Stoicism. Your presence and engagement mean the world to us. Until next time, live fully and think deeply.